I don't know what to say. Liking, it's hot. Hi everybody, and welcome back to my Cosplay Chronicles. This is episode number 2, and it's a whole week late because I've just had a really hard time with this next part, actually. I've been working on the hood for about the past week. I started working on it this past Sunday, and then kept, trying to work it out, and it's taken me all week, plus I was sick for about a day and a half and completely out of commission, not working on anything. Plus, a little bit of photo editing and usual work stuff. So this is the first chance I've had to get you an update. However, as you can see from my friend over here, who now has a face because I realized, a hood that attaches to shoulder pieces. Need to keep the hood up somehow. So this happened in the midst of my manic creative period. I do pretty much have everything done except for the buttons because I realized I don't have enough buttons. I actually forgot to buy enough buttons, so I still have to figure out, exact placement of the buttons and cutting buttonholes and everything. I've done buttonholes a couple times, so I think it'll be okay, but I have to make another trip to the craft store, of course. But, otherwise, I just did the collar, and for the collar, I actually did a little bit of behind the scenes of my process with how I was figuring it out, which kind of goes for how my process went for the entire thing, where, I first start with kind of sketching out a rough outline and then cutting it out of fabric and then putting it on the mannequin and draping it and kind of figuring out what shape I'm going for and then pinning the fabric so that I can, mold it to more the exact shape I need. And then I'll go back, take the pinned piece of fabric and lay it down on more fabric, cut it out again, and test it again. And once I get the pattern down the way I want it to, I'll go trace the fabric section onto newsprint, which is what I've been using to make my patterns, or my paper patterns that I can use when I buy my actual material. Then, after I cut out the paper pattern, I then will go and cut out yet another section of fabric, but this time leaving room for the seams around the edge. And so that's the piece that I then take and hem it if I need to hem it, or I will just go on and start pinning and stitching it together and seeing how it works out. So that's actually been a lot of my process, and I started this out with 10 yards of muslin, and this is all I have left at this point. So I don't know, that's what, about 2.5, 3 yards worth? So I used almost 7 yards, I guess, trying to figure this out and recutting it out. And, I still have a few things I want to maybe work on a bit more, but for now, this is what I have. So first of all, the problem that I had the most was actually the hood, and I thought the hood was going to be the fun part, and while it was fun, it took so much longer than I thought it would because it consists of so many different pieces, and most of this is not machine stitched. It's actually just super loose basting stitch, I think you call it, just to hold it together and to go along the curves and see how it's going to work out. Over here, I have one of my first versions of the hood where, as you can see, it's got similar shapes in the front, but the front's not hemmed, but it's a lot different in the back. I didn't know how to do the back section. I saw, a couple hoods online, Assassin's Creed type hoods, and I looked at the patterns, but I didn't copy the patterns. I used them as a starting point to start sketching out shapes, and then just kept cutting and pinning and changing it as I went. And so, I have a couple different photos that I'm showing now of my paper pattern layouts for the hood, which actually looks kind of cool, all laid out on the floor. But my final version of the hood is much different, actually. And so that came when I finally did the shoulder part over here and then figured out I hadn't planned with these rough edges on the bottom of the hood how I was going to attach the hood to this the shoulder section, and so that really changed a lot of the shape of the hood. Let me spin this around to show you the back. So I still have this little point here in the hood, which I think I want to adjust just a little bit, so I'm probably going to, take this out just a bit and fold it in so it still falls this way, but has less of this point sticking out over here, if you can see it like that. See, it kind of sticks out, so I'll probably, trim that on the final pattern and then make it so it'll lie more flat in the back. I do like how it's draping over the shoulders here, and I like the way, sorry, let me spin her around one more time. I like the way her face is framed like this, And I do like the shape of the top of the hood here, and it sits a lot better, I think, on a round head, and unfortunately I couldn't attach an actual round head to this mannequin, but here's what it looks like off. So, you know, it kind of sits on the shoulders like this. I'm gonna do like a button type lace closure here, but for now, for the practice one, I just put some eyelets and tied it with some yarn. But here, to show you an idea of how the shoulders look, this part is the detachable part, and it just sits nicely on the shoulders. And then if we put this back up here and spin around one more time, here are the back of the shoulders, and they have the nice flaps and stuff in here. And yeah, so this part worked out really well. Here you can see it's round and the hood is attached to it. So I'm pretty happy with how the shoulder section worked out. And the hood, I'm gonna do a little bit of cleanup in the final version where I make sure all the seams line up properly, but this was like a third version of the hood with a fourth version of the back tie or stitched on, so I just didn't feel like cutting out the sections anymore. So yeah. And then if I can take this off real quick. And so I did the collar part today, and it's not quite sitting properly how I want it, but I do have the basic shape. So there's a little bit of adjustments to be made, and the final collar will be reinforced and be a couple of layers and then be stitched differently to the top as well, so I won't have this kind of like rising up stuff here. I just wanted to get the basic shapes done. But as you can see, it comes over here, and then I have a little bit of issue in the back. So I'm going to adjust this and make sure it's a straight seam, and that's where it will be joined in the back. But yeah, otherwise I am pretty happy with what I have so far. Ta-da! Okay, so I also just wanted to put it on to show you how it fits on a real person. Oops, shoulders are a little off. Alright, here we go. Okay, so yeah, this is the hood, and this is the top, and do a spin. Here's the back. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. For the final design, I know I'm going to be lining the hood, so it'll be a little heavier, and I think the weight will help it sit a little bit better. And like I said, I'm going to reinforce the collar to make sure, you know, it's got a nice stiffness and holds the pattern. And then of course down here, you know, have the buttons to hold it instead of I have a little straight pin holding it up right now. But yeah, otherwise, designing this part is pretty much done. I have a whole pile of paper patterns here on the floor. And so my next step is going to be ordering the fabric. I'm going to be ordering my plain white linen rayon blend, some white muslin to be the interior lining for all the white parts. And then I'm going to also order a red linen for the collar and for the sash. So it's pretty exciting, and I'm going to go ahead and order that now. So if you want to keep following along, please feel free to subscribe, and I hope you guys enjoyed this update. See you next time!